And we're live! Yes! Look at me, 2 days in a row. I am on a roll. No big deal. I know, it's such an exciting Friday night, though, for real. I bet, wow, there's probably no viewers yet because everyone else has plans. Good for you. I did not have plans, but that is on purpose. Would have loved to have plans. I was thinking of having plans, but I canceled my plans, so now I am on Friday night with you, which is an okay place to be. It's an okay place to be. I like you guys, I think, most of the time, when you're not having separate theological discussions in the comment section that aren't relevant. But usually that's the fault of someone else who comes into the chat who doesn't have the same views, but that's not their fault. I think that if other people do not know about Catholicism or do not believe the right thing, that is our fault. It's not their fault. It's our problem. If we haven't been out there enough, we haven't been vocal enough if they don't know the right views of what we believe, that's on us, is all I mean. They're not at fault, I don't think. Guess who I met today? I met Father Mitch Pacwa today. And that was one of the most, it wasn't so much what he said in the talk as much as it was one of the most life-changing talks of my, that I've ever been to. And it's just so much from who he is, what he has done, what he has seen, what he's been through, and how smart he is, and how kind he is. And he talked about St. Dominic's today, so it's funny that you say that, Consta. Very funny. Father Mitch Pacwa brought him up in his talk today. Incredible talk, really is. Yeah, what a great guy. Oh, one of my favorite classical music pieces. It has been a while since I memorized what the names of them were. I can't really remember right now. But Father Mitch was in today, and I got a little audience with him with about 20 people. So that was neat. And I was like in the front row pretty much. So I love Ave Verum Corpus. That's really beautiful. I would say I like Sicut Cervus, or Sicut Cervus, whatever. Yeah. So, yeah. Guys, I have a question for you. And I want to know what you think your vocation is. I want to hear back from what people think their vocation is. And it's not a trick question. I'm really just curious out there of how everyone else is approaching it and thinking about it. Or if it's something they're kind of waiting to fulfill or currently fulfilling where they are. Because usually I do believe that we currently fulfill it wherever we are and wherever God placed us. But are you really chronically Catholic? That is awesome. Yeah, I can pray for you now that you've got a college degree and you're looking for a job. Fantastic. That's really great. Yeah. I've had like a pretty long day, so I don't have too much to say, and I'm just still floored by what Father Mitch Pacwa had to say today. He did bring up something to me that was kind of something I thought, well, oh yeah, I guess I believe that too. And it's the fact that I am not, and he is not, as he said, he put it in these words, he said, I am not an optimist, but he also said he wasn't an extreme pessimist either. But I immediately knew kind of what he was talking about because I've always thought it better to approach life not waking up like everything is expected to be wonderful today and then being let down throughout the rest of the day. As opposed to that, I like to wake up in the morning and be like, this is the way the world is. There's no denying that. I know where its lacks are. The lacks in the people, the lacks in myself, and everything is not perfect. And you come to a sense of peace in that fact, and then go about the day being pleasantly surprised by each thing that goes right and each thing that surprises you. Because love is the only surprising thing in the world, or that's left in the world, I believe the original quote is. And so I like to be pleasantly surprised. So as opposed to going throughout the day and then being let down, I go throughout my day at a steady neutral of this is the world, and then I'm pleasantly surprised when people, are very kind that day, or somebody, I don't know, gives me a thank you note I didn't expect, or something nice, whatever it is that happens in the day. There's no traffic on the way to work. It's like, oh, I was expecting traffic, not in a very pessimistic way, but in a just I don't know. Yeah, just not in a pessimistic way. It's just an acceptance of reality and the way it is, and finding a peace in that first with God. And Father Mitch Pacwa said that the way he does that is not being super, super pessimist, not being super, super optimist, but he leaned more towards the side of pessimism, but with an inherent hope in God and God's ability to, in his power over everything that can go wrong. And so there's a sense of peace and trust despite the way things are. And I thought, this is so good. So I know that Father Mitch is speaking tonight locally now. I'd say where, but maybe I just won't say where. But you can find it if you're that curious. But yeah, he's speaking in the city, but he stopped by my work and gave a talk. It's so nice. Mm-hmm. Oh, wow. Yeah. There's always been a bit of a difference with my vlogs and with the Catholic YouTube videos of other people, and I believe we need all kinds of Catholic people to show their faces and proclaim their faith on the internet. And some do it by making a whole ministry and awesome content that comes out on DVDs that they can then give out to people all over the world, and that's really, really cool. And there are more scripted videos, which are very needed, and hey, I wouldn't do too bad with scripted videos either, and I wish I had the time to make them more so than making these impromptu ones. But I've just realized that there's no harm in being on here if I'm unscripted. I just feel like at the end of the day, I'm glad I'm on here at all, because as much as you say it's good for you that I'm on here, which is very humbling to hear, it's good for me. It's good for me that people say that this helps them, because then I feel in a good way a sort of responsibility to keep myself in check, to make sure that when I talk, I'm not living a life opposite of what I say, and that's on me. And sometimes people would be mad that I wouldn't upload very frequently, and there was actually very specific reasons I didn't upload frequently, and it wasn't in a scrupulous way that I was like, I am not good enough to upload right now. But it's that I didn't want to sit there and say something if I hadn't already made moves at least to make the change. And it's true that sometimes in the vlogs, saying it out loud made me go, oh man, I better go make the change now, because I felt that responsibility to do so, and just that I wanted that peace in my conscience about it and with God. So, but most of the time, I only want to make videos and sit in front of you all and in a genuine manner. I mean, I can do a lot of things scripted, to get things done online, but to sit down in a genuine manner, I want to be sure I'm not putting on a mask to do so, and I am what I appear to be. And that's exactly, I made a video once about how you should eliminate the sort of secret self that you might hide from others. And it does mean all those bad habits that you might have, those little things maybe in the closet about you that you don't want people to see, the personality that comes out when you're alone. There are ways to eliminate that. And once you do, You are just you all the time. You are that one person all of the time. And you're like, well, then how do you achieve that? How do you become that one person all the time? And well, I was reminded the other day when I made the GoFundMe for my sister's inner city 4th grade classroom that wanted to go on a field trip and get books and stuff. When I did that and we raised money so fast, I was floored, and she is so excited. She always sat there saying, if I at least had $1,000, I could buy the books, take them on a field trip if I just had that. And now she has that because of you guys. Thank you so much. But the feeling after that, normally you're like, oh yeah, do good things because it makes you feel good. And yeah, that's a pretty generic statement to say that can apply to everyone. Everyone feels good when they help somebody in need, or everyone feels good when, oh yeah, I visited the sick, gave to the poor, etc., etc., etc. But like, there are multiple reasons why it feels good, but there is also a reason that it feels good that I believe is beyond what most people might realize. And I tell you that as an image of God, as the likeness of God, we are at we're our closest to our true selves when we behave and when we do good. We are most human when we do good, when we reason, when we love, and when we choose good things. And when we stay away from sin, which is a lack of existence. You remember how they say sin doesn't exist because technically only good exists, and sin is a absence of good. So I'm saying, like, to be your true self all the time. John Paul the Great, St. John Paul the Great says in many, many, many of his writings over and over again, he says, the acting person. And it is true that what you do can help you become who you really are. And you might say, well, not all the time. I did hear about one particular saint, I believe. He's very lesser known, or no, he's a blessed. He had an addiction to drugs in a foreign country, and he was addicted. And you might say, well, if he was addicted, doing it over and over and over again, he wasn't continually doing good. How was he his most true self? Well, addiction is a little different, but it was the fact, you know how saints go, right? It's that you can trip a million trillion times, but each time you get up 100% willing to try again and have true contrition, sainthood, tripping all over the place. So even though this guy was a drug addict, he died as a martyr because at one point or another, him and a bunch of other people were lined up, and I believe he sacrificed himself in the face of persecution for either some other members of his family or something, even though he was addicted to some kind of drug really, really badly. And he's a blessed now, despite being stuck in that dark place with that addiction. And yeah, so I haven't read the comments much yet because I'm trying to keep my train of thought, which easily flies away very, very, very easily. I always feel like I'm just gripping onto the thoughts I have. They're not ever solidly in my mind. All right, let's see what the comments have going on. I'm going to post that again for my sister just because I'm on live. Why not? Okay. Fun fact, Father Mitch said the way to spot a saint of today is he said that they set themselves apart and stand apart from I can't even remember. They set themselves apart from just the general thoughts and ways of today's society. So that was another thing. I'm trying to remember more of what his talk was. Okay. Let's see what we got. in the comments. Oh, wonderful. Father who? Father Mitch Pacwa. He's been on EWTN since the beginning. He's one of Mother Angelica's right-hand guys at EWTN. He's been on there forever, and generations of my family would watch and enjoy his work on EWTN. You really want to start up a Catholic YouTube channel at some point, just don't know where to start or what to do with it. I can tell you what my very first video was, if that's helpful to you. Someone in my class asked me, they were going around and asking everybody what faith was to them. I was in 8th grade at the time when I wrote down what faith was to me. And the video is still up, I believe. It's my very first video. And I literally just recited it. I remember reciting that, and I remember reciting a bunch of poems just onto the internet, because I thought somehow that even though they were just tiny little bad quality videos, that I was still dropping something good out there into the internet, which honestly is pretty gross most of the time. And eventually I made a video about the same thought, which was that when you look up into a night sky, it's really dark. There is a vast amount, the darkness is vast. It is super dark and goes on for millions and millions of miles, as we know, or as we have thus proclaimed in science. And despite the darkness being quite overwhelming and quite expensive, the amazing thing is that when you look up in the night sky, the first thing you notice is the stars. Tiny, tiny, tiny things that are miles and miles away, consumed. Well, their light cannot be consumed by the darkness, even from that far away, which is funny. So there are reasons to do all of the little things, to start with little videos. Even if they're not perfect, you can say, well, you got to start learning somewhere. So I'm just going to talk about something that I like to think about when I pray the rosary, or I'm going to talk about something I learned in religion class the other day, or theology class the other day, or something I read in a book I liked, or a book I liked. You just kind of start talking about it. And the amazing thing and the hardest thing about being on Catholic YouTube and Catholic media is that you, no matter what the extent of, no matter the quality necessarily of what you're talking about and Catholic topic-wise, you are labeling your face, you yourself, as an image like this. Like you see me now, you label your face, your person, and even your name as Catholic in front of the whole world on the internet. And though you have just tiny little videos that don't say too much maybe, or aren't as researched out as some scholars that hop up online, that is very brave and courageous and gives a lot of people hope and makes them realize that they are not alone in the faith. And it continues to build the online Catholic presence and makes it something people are more aware of. You represent us, just as this desert monk, this Orthodox desert monk once said. His name was Father Lazarus. He said, yes, you're just one person praying, okay, but when you pray, all of mankind prays. And you're like, what? Because one man represents the human race and its capabilities, its potential, and what it has the opportunity to do. One human being. If one human being can do a backflip, it shows that the rest of the human race could do that too. And one human being doing something really good, really, really good, means that there's potential for the whole all men, to do that same good, boosting they're they're I guess boosting their image in the eyes of God. So when just a little old you prays alone in your room and says one Hail Mary, you're saying that for the whole human race under the eyes of God. I will never forget that monk, Father Lazarus. He lived out in the desert and he'd only seen a couple of people over decades of time. Incredible guy. And I believe it's on YouTube. There's a video about Father Lazarus and some random celebrity who went out in the desert with him for just maybe a month or a few weeks. And it's like kind of a reality show type thing. He tries to survive out there with Father Lazarus, and Father Lazarus just completely owns him. Like he's been doing that too long. So the new guy couldn't even stand a chance. He was just like, I'm alone with my thoughts. I'm freaking out. I'm just remembering all the bad things I ever did. He wasn't even technically a Christian, I don't believe. But at the end of that time, he started to open his eyes to it, which is pretty cool. That's on YouTube somewhere. I wish I knew the details of that. Let me keep reading these comments again. Oh, it skipped all the way to the bottom. Yes. Oh, good. The Coptic Church did a few videos with Father Lazarus. That's cool. Can you do a video of Catholics being discriminated against? I am Roman Catholic and I deal with discrimination. There's one thing in being discriminated for your faith. And I believe people are discriminated for their faith, their race, their opinions, what they like to eat for breakfast, to what color their hair is, and what job, where they work, what house they live in, what car they drive, what clothes they wear, how they walk, how they talk, how much they talk, how little they talk. I know discrimination is specifically a word that goes towards more specific things, but I want you to focus on just yourself for 1 minute and remember that Padre Pio especially would say it's very important, and important above all, to keep your inner peace, not in a weird Buddhist way, but in a way that you stay calm. As Jesus would always say, peace be with you. He literally means don't lose your peace. And so that is what you must focus on in every way. And now the reason I'm going to tie this in with being discriminated against or being bullied or being mistreated or not being treated the way you think you should be treated, or just the very bottom line expectations of how someone should treat another stranger, another human being. When those don't happen, I'm not going to speak for the people who are innocent, like the Holy Innocents or Mary herself or even Jesus right now, but I'm going to speak for you and I'm going to speak for me, that the way to keep inner peace amid being bullied and amid being accused falsely and amid being called all sorts of names is to recall that with God's forgiveness, yes, you are forgiven of those things you have done, but it is actually in some ways, at least when it happens to me, I'll think not in a very scrupulous way to say I deserve that, but somehow it helps me keep my inner peace when someone calls me something off, when someone calls me a snake or something, that it definitely maybe wasn't true, or they just didn't get their way and I had to go with my decision or something like that. And then they're all mad and they're calling me names. Instead of justifying myself in that situation and saying this is unfair right now and I'm mad at this person for unjustly accusing me of that, I want you to take that criticism from that moment, pick it up in the air and apply it to another moment in your life where you definitely disappointed yourself, your family, and tons of people, and God. Apply it to a part of your life where you messed up, where you sinned, and don't go crying about it, but just put it in its proper place and say, yes, I am a sinner. I am imperfect. I have done things that make me deserving of such comments, whether it's appropriate in that situation and that where you didn't do anything wrong, it's probably applicable to something else in the past. And you take that criticism and you set it there and pray and that God, accept that as a penance for that thing or those things that you did in the past. It puts it in its proper place and closes the door on that attack or that criticism against you. And the reason that it's as important is because I found that it brings inner peace in a chaotic and unfair and aggressive situation with somebody else or some other situation where you are being unjustly accused or unjustly criticized or unjustly hurt or attacked against. So, with discrimination, that's what I think of too. It's probably not the full answer that someone more studied in scripture and theology and tradition could give, but it's what comes to mind when I hear such things of mistreatment towards a Catholic. Okay. Gonna take a look here once again. So behind on the comments. Okay. Let me keep posting my sister's link once again. I guess I could just pin it. No, I don't know how to do that. Okay, anyways. Hey, I'm glad that's what you needed, Ricky. I hope it helps. Okay. Thanks for hanging on, guys, while I just look over these comments, because once again, I am very behind. Yay! Okay, cool. How do you pray from the heart? Someone says. There are a lot of ways to pray. You can approach God like you would a casual person who's just walking by you in the hallway and saying, "Hi, how are you?" "Fine." And you don't really mean to investigate how their life is, but you're just saying, "Hi, how are you? God, what's up? Nice to, hope you have a good day," or whatever, but you're not really invested. You just kind of throw some words out there. Prayer can be like that. Prayer can also be like gathering. This is all from Father Mitch Paco. He says prayer can also be like a Thanksgiving meal or a dinner with the family. Everybody's around a big table, kind of, talking with each other, or maybe God's at the head of that table and everyone's kind of chatting with him. And he says that's Mass. That's what happens at Mass. It's a big gathering of all of us. And then he says, let's say you're married. And most of the time, there's conversations with your spouse where you're just on the phone real quick. Just like, "Hi, can you pick up some milk at the store?" "Yes, sure. Love you, bye." But then there are times maybe when you get to finally sit down in the evening and really talk with your spouse about what's going on with everything and how are things, how's work, and that's another type of communication. So prayer is all about communication. There's the little, "Hi, how are you?" "Good, how are you?" "Great, thanks." Then there's the way of doing it in a community setting, which is Mass and like the church. And then there is the one-on-one sit down where you really, really talk with God and you open your heart. But okay, when people ask me questions, I try to give an interesting twist that you wouldn't find in just the catechism. I like to give, of course, 100% authentically Catholic and correct answers always. But I also like to throw in things people maybe haven't thought of before, because I think that's always a really fun little Easter eggs. So, how do you pray from the heart? Now, sometimes we're moved to pray from the heart when something really intense happens in our lives, or something really emotionally great happens in our lives, or something really bad happens in our lives. But then outside of that, it's like, I don't get those big surges of emotion all the time. So how am I going to connect with God through the heart on the regular? On the regular like that. I don't always feel super compassionate. I don't always feel super this or super that. Because feelings, they have an ebb and flow to them, which is why they always talk about having the foundation of truth and a good education in the faith as the unmoving, unfluctuating foundation underneath all those feelings as they go up and down. You always have that. But here's something I think of when I am not feeling it, and yeah, maybe I'm a little lazy with going to dive into scripture or something. And you have to tap into the immediate reality around you that you might not always think about. And it's a reality that should end up maybe drawing even a little extra emotion or an extra motivation to speak with God seriously from the heart. And that is not only all the good around the world that's happening, but if you really, really, really think about whose side you are on, what you are fighting against by being on the side of God and on the side of good. And if you ever think, which people try not to think about, just all the horrible things happening in the world, because who wants to sit around and like mope about that? Not too many people, but it can actually be a huge motivator in prayer and going to mass and staying in the church. So the other day, it was brought to my attention something very, very awful that goes on in the world that honestly gave me a stomach ache for about a whole day. And I still, even into the work day today, I was thinking about it and going like, oh, that is so messed up, so disgusting, and so, heartbreaking and so wrong, so much so on the other spectrum of the capability of human beings, from good to bad, all the way on the bad side of the spectrum to the extreme, so bad. And it kicked my want to cling to God, knowing that is out there and that is happening, but not just because I was scared and wanted to run over to God and be like, save me from these evil people out there. But no, it's a hatred of what is not good. Simple as that. And it's not wanting to aid or be a part or associate your name with that great, great, great evil. Now, we might all have associations with, of course, venial sins and a number of the mortal sins going on. And throughout our lives, we find ourselves falling back and forth from the bad side of human actions to back to the good. And but if you are kind of getting lazy about it and kind of just wavering over on the bad side of what you could be to the good side sometimes and the bad, and you're just not really feeling it per se, I want you to remember that stepping over that line into actions that are bad, attitudes that are bad, emotions that are bad, hatred towards people, to viewing people, maybe it's viewing women in the wrong way or viewing men in the wrong way or whatever that is. Just usury of the world and its people and its things for your own benefit. Wavering over that line to the bad, to the evil, to the wicked. Even if it's venial or mortal, don't get scrupulous on me. That's another topic. But it is dwelling and being with a relative evil of the great ones, the great evils, the most disgusting ones that I do not dare mention on my channel, that remind me of why I am Catholic, because I do not stand for those actions being done around the world. Never, ever will. And it's so sad that in Pennsylvania, there's scandals broke out about the priests again. And if I could tell you, Father Mitch Pacwa said the worst time for the church was also in about the 1900s, where it was so corrupt and there was sexual immorality everywhere. It's so bad. But he said in those times came forth saints amazing saints in high number that were so dynamic and so strong and so took such action. And it's because of that evil that was around them. And that evil actually helps us to realize just why we're on the side of God in the first place, just why we're in that pew on Sunday and not watching the football game. In the 1900s, it was a bit more evident than it is to us today, because we can easily just cater everything to our own wants and needs and interests on social media, so we never have to see what we don't want to see. But in the 1900s, the church being so rampant with terrible things, they needed saints who came forward like with a crazy passion for proving these people wrong and getting these people out of the church, because their evil was so great. And it was actually like almost an advantage for those saints at that time, because they could see that evil so well. It was so obvious to them, and it was so real. Sometimes we just forget about that great evil that is out there. And we don't want to be part of it. We don't want to be standing on the same side as it. We don't want to be meddling with something that is related to that greater sin, even the smaller ones. And it's not about saying that because you've done a little sin, you've done the big one. I'm not saying that either. And like I said, don't get scrupulous on me with this. But it's the fact that you're not running to God because you're scared of it, but because you are adamantly against that which is false. You're adamantly against usury of people, of, every living creature out there. And against, you could even be about saving the planet and people that abuse that too, because of course it happens. Look, I just think that there's always an influx of great saints in times of great evil, where we're told that, oh, keep hopeful, whatever. It's the main reason that this happens is, hold on, I gotta moderate real quick. Okay. So yeah, the other day I heard about something absolutely horrible that happens behind closed doors. And it jump-started my communication with God, especially that day. It's like I had to cling to the rosary because I wanted nothing to do with anything remotely related to what I had heard about is going on in our little world today. So it's like, yeah, you're Catholic because God is great, God is beautiful, God is truth, God is this, God is that. But you know what? It's like I'm Catholic because I don't want to support and don't want to be on the side of those evil actions. Oh, if you didn't get the point yet, I just repeated the point like 30 times, I think. Sorry, Kenza. Yeah, the point is that, I guess to wrap it up, the first question was initially, how do you pray from the heart? And honestly, I said there's many different kinds of ways to pray. You can pray casually throughout the day to God. You can pray in a community, and you can pray heart-to-heart conversation, very serious conversation with God. And then I also threw in this extra bonus thing, which was, here is something that always kind of jump starts my communication with God. is the remembering of the reality of the evils in the world without weeping and getting really depressed about it, but just saying, I don't want anything to do with that. And it makes you want to cling to what is good, what is true, and what is beautiful, because you don't want to aid those actions. You don't want to have your name on the list of people who are over on that side and didn't help stop those actions in the dark, dark, dark spectrum of the evil and bad scale of things. Okay, wraps that up. Can we take the Eucharist more than once a day? I know you can take it twice a day for sure. 3 times, that's where I'm forgetting. No, I know people who've taken it twice a day. I went to I went to a Catholic traditional school in high school where the principal was Byzantine Catholic, and then the vice principal was definitely a traditional Roman Catholic. So I remember sometimes people having communion twice a day, and it wasn't the end of the world. But never 3 times, I don't think. Ricky, that's great. Thank you. I believe I was talking about being your true self and eliminating that secret, sneaky person that comes out when you're home alone or whatever. And I believe I have a video about it called Eliminating Your like sinful alter egos is what I call them, just for fun. It's not a correct term scientifically, but I just called it eliminating this sinful alter ego in yourself so that you can be just fully one person all the time, whether somebody's watching or not. It's always just you. And that is how you remain blameless too in the eyes of God. It's always good to remain blameless even in little things. It's easier to keep track of, just like it's easier to keep track of when you don't tell lies, because it's hard to keep track of all the lies you might tell people, and then it'll come back around and explode. So, yeah. Do I like poetry? Yes, I have a book of about 50 poems, and I've always been meaning to publish it already. I recently, maybe like months ago, 3 months ago, reorganized the poetry book and put everything in the order that I wanted it to be. But I wanted to add more, and I also don't know how to really go about publishing it now, through who or what to do. I know people want to self-publish and people want to like go through a bigger company. I don't know, but I do have a book of about 50 poems. I love poetry. It's very, very nice, and I love writing like songs and piano tunes and things like that. So. Great. Thanks for hanging out, guys. It's been about 42 minutes, so I'm probably going to go. Have I read any Brazilian authors? I don't think so. I only know one language, and that's English. My older sister is the one who knows like 3 languages. Speaking of my older sister, still raising money for her class on GoFundMe. I had originally started it for $900 just to see if I could get $500, but then we met $900, and I'm like, geez, oh man. I know if it hit, they are in such a deficit of money that everything will go directly to where it is needed and be used very, very well. At her inner city school, she teaches 4th grade, and the kids there are on vouchers to be there. And I know one family, it's a grandmother raising the kids and getting them dressed for school every day before she goes and works 2 jobs and then picks them up. So yeah, that would be one example of the kind of families at this school. And I know one kid came up to Treats the other day, said he wanted to play basketball, but he couldn't because he couldn't afford the $25 fee to be on the basketball team. And that is this kind of inner city school that I'm posting the link to in here. So she has 28 students in her class, and it would be great to like almost have she said, oh, I can't wait to take them on like a field trip. We tried last year, but it didn't happen. And this year they'll definitely be going to, I think, one of the farm parks over by the school. So that's what she wants to do. And yeah, I thank you guys so much for all your donations. There were immense donations, high amounts, and donations from people I didn't expect. And it was just such a surprise. And she is beyond thrilled about this and in shock about this, because she'd always prayed if she just had $1,000, what she could do with it and for the kids. So, like I said, she doesn't get paid very much, but she's there because she cares about the future of these kids and she just can't bear to leave them. And that's why she's still there. And when I heard that she made that statement, I made this GoFundMe page because, yeah, because she's my sister, and to hear that she is having a hard time, I just couldn't sit back when I have the ability to spread the word about her classroom and what they need. So thank you all so much for helping me with that and helping her. I'll give you an update on that as well. So, all right, everybody, I'm gonna have to go and read these comments later and discover I missed some great ones because I was talking. But, oh, hi, Jay. Sorry about that. Yeah, I'm gonna go. Thank you for tuning in. I'm glad I could live stream like a second day in a row. And there's always like that one person who comments 2 minutes later, like, I just missed the live chat. And I'm like, I'm sorry to you, whoever you are, that you just missed this. But I hope that I'll be doing another live stream soon and we can talk then. So yes, my sister's school is a Catholic school in the inner city. It's a Catholic school in the inner city. One of the oldest historic schools built in, like, I know the parish was started in about 1914 or so. And the building's like falling apart, really old, but she wants to stay and help the kids. She could be doing anything she wants to do. She used to be a vice president of another company. So God bless her. God bless her. And thank you for helping her in the GoFundMe page. And I'm going to sign off now. And maybe I'll do a rosary live stream too, because last night I was thinking about doing that. But I, alas, cannot right now. It's been like 46 minutes. But next time, let me see if I can do that. All right, guys. You guys have a great night, and I'll see you soon. God bless.